Welcome to In Her Voice, a podcast created for women who listen to and live by their deepest wisdom, their inner voice. This was made for you, the woman who feels pulled to more, to lead, to create, to dream, and to be a world changer. My name is Kelly Covert, and I am an inner voice coach. Join me here each week as we explore what it means to reach for your inspired potential, all while honoring your worthiness each and every day. Hello, this is Kelly, and you are listening to In Her Voice. It is the very weird week in between Christmas and New Year's, and I was going to put out the next interview that I have for you, which is going to be super fun and perfect for the new year. But instead I decided that I would just share some of my end of year reflections. And, I do this for myself a lot, to just really reflect back and to think about what I've learned this year. And it also helps me frame the coming year. But I also do this for you because I think it's really valuable to hear other people talk about what they have learned, because something in that might spark something for you. Something in that might inspire you to look at this new year coming up through a new lens. And I think that that can be our most exciting and important discovery, is that when we shift our perspective, everything changes, literally. And that's sort of what happened to me this year. I started off the year, and full disclosure, I do not make resolutions anymore. I used to do that a lot. I haven't done it in many years because I found that it really triggered the perfectionism inside of me. And then when inevitably, the resolution would fall by the wayside, then I would feel a lot of shame around that. And I started to recognize that that wasn't helpful to me. And so through the years, I've done different things, but my favorite thing to do is just to really sit at the end of the end of the year and the beginning of the new year and think about and ask my inner voice what my intention can be for this coming year. And to me, an intention has so much more breathing room. It has so much more grace. There's so much room for discovery. There's so much room for loving yourself inside of that intention. And that feels really, really good to me. And in fact, and this may be something that I talk about in an upcoming podcast, I'm even moving away from very clear-cut goals. And I think a lot of that for me is personality driven. Again, back to that a recovering perfectionist part of me. But I'm finding that having a hazier view of what can happen and what I want to feel it just allows for so much more openness. It allows for so much more creativity and interpretation of what it means to feel joy, what it means to feel fulfilled, and what it means to feel successful. And I feel that for myself, there's still a lot of learning in that place, what that exactly looks like, moving away from goal setting. So I'm not going to talk a lot about that here today, but just know that I am sitting inside of that and working through a lot of that with my own inner voice and journaling a lot on that. So if you want to hear more about that, definitely shoot me an email and let me know, because I feel a little bit like I'm playing the devil's advocate when I say, you shouldn't have goals. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, me personally, I have been experimenting with letting go of very distinct goals. And that has given me a lot of freedom, which I love. Anyway, though, back to this year, my intention that I set at the beginning of 2021 was to honor my energy and flow. Now, what did that mean? That meant that I was going to listen to my body. It meant I was going to go when I felt like going and to stop when I felt like stopping. It meant that some days I had more energy and I would do more with that energy. And some days I had much less energy. And that meant that day would involve a lot more stillness. And what I didn't realize when I set that intention was that it was actually going to be really, really difficult to honor my energy and flow and not feel guilty and not feel different and not feel disappointed. I think sometimes when we give ourselves the latitude to trust ourselves, what we are maybe discounting is that our bodies want something different than our brains want. Or maybe I should say that our bodies want something different than we think we want. And that can just be a challenge. It can be a challenge. And so I wanted to share my discoveries as I really leaned into this intention of honoring my energy and flow. Number one, it's hard to trust yourself and your body if you've been trying to control it your entire adult life. What do I mean by that? If you have been going against what your body asks of you because you want to hustle, or because you want to quote unquote succeed, or because you believe that trying hard is the most important thing, or because you feel like your body needs to be a certain size in order to be lovable or acceptable, then you know what it means to control. And I don't use that word lightly. And I also know that it's probably hitting home for many, if not all of you, in one way or the other. I think from a small child, I have been taught that my role is to control myself. And when you spend a lifetime trying to control yourself, and then all of a sudden you give yourself permission to let your body be in charge, it can be hard to trust it because it's confusing and it's asking things that go against what you think you should be doing or how you think you should be feeling. So that is something that I am still working on. And I think that this intention of honoring my energy and flow is going to continue going with me into the new year, because it's a practice that I have not mastered yet. I haven't put in my 10,000 hours, so to speak, yet in this practice. It's not something that is coming completely naturally yet. And so I'm going to continue to have a focused intention on that. Another thing that I discovered was that I really had to let go of my own guilt and expectations around what my energy and flow should look like. I feel that the world puts on us what a successful human being should look like. How much money you make, how much time you spend working, how hard you work. And a lot of what I discovered this year was that my body craves ease. It craves slowing down. It craves doing nothing. And when I do that, my body feels good, but my brain sometimes goes like, no. That inner critic just starts shouting at me like, no, this isn't right. This isn't what you should be doing. You're being very lazy. You're not da-da-da-da-da. And it just goes on and on and on. And if I don't listen to that, then the next feeling is guilt. Like I'm disobeying. Like I'm letting go. Like I'm letting go of myself. I'm letting myself go. I'm not in charge anymore. And that's exactly right. I wanted my body to be in charge finally after so many years of being bossed around by my inner critic. And I felt guilty about that. And I still feel guilty about that sometimes, but it is getting better. And I'm learning that if I allow the external expectations to dictate what my energy and flow should look and feel like, then it's not mine. It's someone else's. It's not me. And a big part of my value system is authenticity. And that means being myself and honoring myself. And I think a big part of that I've really been learning this year is that also means honoring my body and what my body asks of me and not feeling guilty about that. So I've let that go and I continue to let it go. Again, that's another practice that I'm still mastering. Another discovery I had is that free time is way more important to me than money. This was huge. This discovery, I feel like I really started sinking into it over the last 3 or 4 months of the year when I just wanted to sit on my couch and read for a few hours each day. And at first I felt really guilty about that. And then when I started doing it, I realized, this is more important to me than the money that I could be making with this time. And that discovery was a powerful discovery for me. And I also recognized, and I think that this is a good part of a year in reflection, is I really was able to give myself credit for the life that I have very intentionally created for myself. A life that has flexibility, a life that has room for my whims. And I use that word very specifically, very intentionally, because sometimes I think that people look down on those whims. Like we shouldn't just be flitting and floating about. We should have drive. We should be headed in the direction that we've always headed in. And I'm learning about myself that I need to follow those whims. I need to allow myself to change my mind. I need to go hard some days and do nothing on other days. I need that. My body needs that. My soul needs that. And it's no accident that whims is part of whimsical. I want a whimsical life. To me, that feels joyful and magical and sparkly. And that's the kind of life that I crave and the kind of life that I want. And that is more important to me than making a load of money. And I really needed to learn that this year. I really needed to learn it. I saw this really great Oprah quote on Instagram, and it said, "When you pay attention to what makes you feel energized, follow your intuition, and do what you love, you will more than just succeed. You will soar." And I think the key for me has been to redefine what success means. Success for me is no longer about making loads and loads of money. Success is about creating a life that makes me joyful and happy and excited to live it. And yes, money is required to do that, but not as much money, not as much money as I once thought. And there's a balance, because in order to make money, I have to give up the freedom of time that I love. And so that becomes a value, right? I value freedom more than I value financial success. Although I am financially successful, I think I mean like whatever is beyond financial success, excessive financial excess. And here's the thing, there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you want and that's what you value, go for it. I love that for you. That's just not the most important thing to me anymore. It used to be, but it's not anymore. And then this is the last thing, my last discovery. I will never be normal. I am not typical. I am not like everybody else. And there are some days where I really love that about me. And there are other days where I don't love that about me so much. And I think that's normal. And it's okay. Like, I just keep reminding myself, like, it's okay that you value your time more than you value dollars in your bank account. That's okay. It's okay that I have decided having a tiny business suits my life better than having a 6 and 7 figure business, which that's what I used to want. I don't want that anymore. I want my tiny business that I can help people one at a time, that I can create beautiful things like this podcast and my Give Yourself Permission journal and the Enoughness Planner. Those are the things that make me feel successful and also allow me to be who I am, which is someone who follows their whims, which is someone who needs lots of free time, which is someone who has varying amounts of energy day by day. That might not be typical, and that's okay with me. I am atypical. I am not normal. And I'm learning to love that about myself more and more every single day. So those are my discoveries for the year, and I look forward to discovering more in the coming year. When I think about what this new year will look like, I'm not sure. I don't have an intention yet for this year. I'm planning on spending some time coming up in this week ahead to really dig in to what comes up for me from my inner voice, to what I really need most. Some of the things that I've been flirting with, and you will hear more about this because I'm going to spend a lot of time in my own journaling this week on these things, are value-based habits. Last year, I spent a lot of time in desire-based habits, and I loved that. This year, I'm going to take some time exploring what actions I can do in my life that express my values. And I love the idea of that because that's really getting to the heart of who we are. Our values are what makes us who we are, I believe. And so if I have actions that express those values, if I have habits that express those values, it's not necessarily about reaching a goal. It's about being myself and expressing myself through what I do. So this is something I'm really excited about. I feel like I'm just on the tip of understanding what this would look like in terms of a process. And when I have more clarity on that process for myself, you can better believe that I'm going to share that with you, and I can't wait. Another thing that I'm going to be doing for this year, and I'm again not exactly sure what that's going to look like, is creating a menu of these values-based actions, right? So like it's something that I can have hanging up on a whiteboard in my office, and it can be centered personally and through my business, right? What are actions in my business that reflect my values? What are actions in my life that reflect my values? And I think the beautiful thing about that is it really gives us a lot of latitude to choose based on how we feel each day. And so I am going to be working on my own menu over the next week. And like I said, as I take myself through this process that my inner voice will reveal, you can 100% be sure I'm going to share it with you. And lastly, I know that I'm going to continue to work on redefining what success means to me. I think I made a really good start this year in understanding what I need. And I do think that there's more depth to that. And I'm going to be digging into that this year. So in a couple of weeks, I'm going to come back and I'm going to share a little bit more with you. And maybe we'll even have some, I don't know, like a little challenge or a workshop or something. Let me know what you want. I would be really interested to hear what you want. But I think that there's something here for all of us. And I can't wait to share that with you. I would love to hear how your year went. I'd love to know what you learned about yourself, what you discovered. I'd love to know what you're thinking about for the coming year. So you can shoot me an email at Kelly@kellycovert.com. You can instant message me. Instant message, is that a thing? Instagram message, DM, whatever, over on Instagram at Kelly J. Covert. I always love to hear from you and to hear about what you're learning in your world, what you're exploring, what you want more of, because I care about you and I care about this space that we create together as I podcast and as you listen. It's really, really important to me. So let me know. Here's my reminder to you. It's been a heck of a year and we have another one coming up. Be kind. Be gentle. Love yourself. Remind yourself every single day that you are worthy.